All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, January 10th, 2023 meeting of the Garden Grove City Council. Madam Clerk, would you like to call roll?
Councilmember O'Neill.
Here.
Councilmember Tran.
Here.
Councilmember Dovin.
Present.
Councilmember Klopfenstein.
Here.
Councilmember Kim Wynn.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Breitigam.
Here.
And Mayor Jones.
Here. May I ask Assistant City Manager Maria Stite to do the invocation, followed by Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember John O'Neill.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If everybody could please stand and prepare yourselves according to your faith. Dear gracious Lord, we thank you for your many blessings and ask that you would be with us here tonight, empower us, refresh us, and enrich us so that we may achieve the best solutions and outcomes for our community. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. If you join us facing the flag, remove your hats if you have any, and please join me in pledging allegiance to the greatest symbol of freedom in the world. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay, that takes us on to presentations, and we do have two listed tonight. The first is 1A, which is a fire safety update by Orange County Fire Authority Division Chief Covey.
Hi, thank you. Make sure it's on. Good evening, Council, Mayor Jones, and Council. Thank you for this opportunity to kind of chat with you tonight. To the new council members, I haven't had a chance to meet you. My name is Craig Covey. I'm your OCFA Division Chief for Garden Grove. And I was speaking with City Manager Stiles, and I brought this issue to light to him. And after discussion, he thought it was worthy of your time. I know you guys are busy trying to make the big decisions for your city, but this is an issue your residents are facing. We're having multiple fires from it. So I wanted to take a few moments tonight and kind of brief you on what's going on for the residents online and the public, kind of educate them to what a trend that the fire service has really identified and is it's causing many, many fires. So coming out of the holidays, I'm sure many folks have gotten, we're fortunate enough to get some nice Christmas presents and that are battery powered and things like that. Well, there are some associated hazards you need to be aware of that goes with them. So if a picture is worth 1,000 words, do we have the PowerPoint up on the? Everybody see the PowerPoint? Or there we go. So if a picture is worth 1,000 words, I think this video will do a much better job at getting your attention. That was 3.5 seconds. 3.5 seconds from time of failure to full explosion. And this is becoming common. So this is what I wanted to bring to your attention. I'll kind of go through these slides and discuss what's happening. So these are the common batteries that you see on a daily basis, right? We use these everywhere. All are usually very stable unless you get them soaked in water. You know, there's no real issues with these most of the time. The one exception being that little CR1220 battery. I think you're pretty common in seeing that. It's used in many smaller things like vape pens and things like that. It is prone to failure. We are having some issues that have seen that. And here's an example of that. They're pretty common in like vape pens and e-cigarettes and things like that. And here's a video example of when they fail.
Cylindrical cell battery. There is virtually no warning. They almost seem to spontaneously ignite. This can be particularly dangerous when kept in a pocket.
One of your own Garden Grove employees has had a pen fail in his pocket and severely burned his leg as a part of that. with the current society nowadays and cameras being everywhere, we're starting to get opportunities like this where we see these things, and where before where it was anecdotal. What happened? Did that really happen? Now we're getting video evidence of it. The first time I was alerted to it was about 5 or so years ago. There was a fire in Santa Margarita, and for some reason this resident had a camera in their garage, and we watched a portable drill battery charger fail on a workbench, and we watch it just explode and proceeds through its burn period, ends up destroying the entire garage. That was my first kind of, whoa, is that really happening out there? And now we're seeing this more and more often occurring, and now we have the videos to back it up, and that's what I was kind of trying to do for you guys tonight, to show you this stuff. So if you look on the left of this screen here, that 18650 battery, that was developed by Tesla back in 2005, and it's the most common battery. Now, your little scooters and those type of devices, drones, any of those hobby devices, have a handful of those batteries, 1 to a handful. A Tesla has between 3,000 and 7,000 of them, as an example, to get that strength up to run the car. Through competition, like everything, more batteries were developed, like the Prismatic, the Pouch, the 21700 that you see there. All of them do the same thing, but for our purposes, their reaction to fire and failure are the same. Okay, they look a little differently, but they do react the same way. The difference here is these batteries don't need oxygen. They burn on their own, okay? They create their own oxygen, so they're very difficult to put out. You can't just go smother them and put them out. It takes a ton of water to cool them down and truly extinguish them. They'll actually restart. Now, this slide says 7 days. I have another one here that says a little bit longer, stuff I plagiarized, but we've had them as long as 3 weeks that they've reignited. I've been on fires where it was a pallet of drone batteries, and it reignited 5 separate times after we thought we had it out. So when they degrade, they don't have to be charging. Now, most of the time it happens when they're charging, but they'll degrade because of poor build out of them. So if they're built in a not very clean environment, a little piece of dust on that in the battery cell will degrade it over time and will cause these failures, as an example. When they do burn, they burn rapidly, as you saw. They don't need oxygen. And then the other part of it is that hydrogen gas that comes out of it is incredibly, incredibly toxic. It's been described to me as bone eating. So it's not only the fire issue, it's the smoke that comes out of this as a hazard. We have one OCFA firefighter that's been put on medical retirement because of an exposure to an incident that we weren't aware of this hazard. So it's very near and dear to my heart. A lot of these devices you're pretty familiar with, e-bikes, scooters, and hoverboards. That was that first video there. Here's some more example of what they look like. This poor gentleman. There's no sound on this one, so I'll kind of narrate it for you. He goes, and like we all do, we're going to go grab some water. He's going to run and bring some water back. And thankfully, he falls, believe it or not, because when this explodes, that's 2,000-degree molten metal that's splashing him. So if he had been standing over that, it could have been a lot worse. And this thing continues to blow up and blow up, all those additional batteries in that scooter, igniting and blowing up like a firework inside your house. You can see them almost going off like firecrackers, just, as they're flying across the room and projectiling there. So when it comes to electric vehicles, I'm not sounding the alarm like electrical vehicles are all going to fail on you. That's not what I'm saying, okay? Auto cars, we have combustible engine car fires all the time. The problem for us with the electrical vehicles is putting them out. So those batteries are stored underneath in the body of the car, underneath the seats and in that layer there. So it's very difficult for us to get to them. We had an accident here recently. There was an unfortunate fatality involving it took us a while to put that car out. So there's been estimates of taking anywhere up to 10,000 gallons of water to extinguish one. Some cities have taken to this. So when we send them to the tow yards, we recommended the tow yards to store these things off to the side so that they don't catch any other cars on fire should they reignite. In this city in Sacramento, as an example, they ended up digging a ditch and filling it full of water and just submersing it to finally extinguish it. In Europe, and I believe some American cities, they're actually bringing out rollout dumpsters like this, putting the car in and filling it with water and submerging it to fully extinguish them. An interesting note, after Hurricane Ian in Florida occurred, and a lot of the Teslas have been fully submerged in salt water as part of that flood waters, they started having numerous Tesla fires or electric vehicle fires down there because of the salt water corroding the batteries and causing and exacerbating the failures. New York is doing a much better job than we have been. We're just really kind of getting awakened to this in tracking these fires. And I pulled some statistics from New York. I've created a tracking mechanism in our fire reporting system. We're going to hopefully get some better data on ourselves with them. But as you can see in here, they're talking about it. One of my news feeds just recently showed the warehouse, the evidence warehouse for NYPD, burned up the other day. Giant warehouse, size of a city block. They lost the entire evidence room because of a bike failure inside it. So they're acutely aware of what's going on. They had a recent high-rise fire that caused a lot of injuries and a death. So they're tracking this pretty heavily too. So here's an example of the strength of the e-bikes when they go off.
These can have up to a kilowatt-hour lithium battery, just like the e-scooter.
Wow.
The fire starts by emitting smoke first.
You can see here the challenge again.
Spray the battery with
You can't smother them, and you can't get enough water on to put them out.
just keeps going.
So in London, they're starting to track this well. In China, where bikes have the use of electrical energy for things has been much more used, they tallied 10,000 fires between 2013 and 2017 in China, tracking these things, and over 200 deaths. So it is becoming a worldwide problem, not just us. The photo in this picture is a fire I had just before I promoted. I grabbed a quick thing as I got on scene, and this one was caused by a drone battery that started the fire in this guy's bedroom. New York has talked about a 230% increase in fires caused by these battery failures in the last year to date. And each year prior to that, it had been getting worse, but then they had an exponential growth in this last year. 191 fires, 140 injuries, and 6 deaths in the last year. So what's OCFA recommending? Only purchase and use devices and batteries that came with the equipment and is nationally recognized. You buy the cheap knockoff stuff, you increase your risk at having something like this. Only use the battery and charger that was designed for that device. Again, don't buy the knockoff stuff. When it's done charging, unplug it. Don't leave it in and have it overrun itself and heat up. Recommend storing your mobility devices in a place that won't threaten your exit from a house should a failure occur. Stop using any of them. If you notice any smells, you see any white vapors, you hear any odd sounds, unplug them, stop using them, get them out of your house. Don't, obviously, when you're done with the lithium-ion batteries, please just don't throw them away. The trash trucks and all that would appreciate that. And then, as well as the environment, obviously, and then only have them repaired by qualified personnel. Now, we've been working with the city. We've created some pamphlets on this. It's available on city websites as well as at ocfa.org. You can get additional information on it and our recommendations. And as you can see here, it doesn't have to be plugged in. This was down in Newport Beach, bike in the middle of the sand. It was in the newspaper the other day. Grabbed a screenshot of it. So I'm available should you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Chief. Colleagues, any questions?
I know I'm going to unplug all my chargers when I'm not.
That's pretty much everybody's answer has been, okay, you can see it going through their head. What do I got to start unplugging, right? All right, thank you.
Awesome, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, 1B, Community Spotlight.
1B is a community spotlight in recognition of Hazel Coronado for being named the Orange County Boys and Girls Club Youth of the Year.
You. This evening, the Garden Grove City Council would like to recognize Hazel Coronado for being named the 2022 Orange County Boys and Girls Club Youth of the Year. And I'd like to ask Hazel Coronado to please come forward. We're going to have you stand right in front of everybody in the chambers here, and we're going to say some really nice things about you, Hazel. So Hazel has been a member of the Boys and Girls Club for 11 years, probably a little over that. Last year, the Boys and Girls Club Youth of the Year program named Hazel as the Orange County Boys and Girls Club Youth of the Year and awarded her a $5,000 college scholarship. The boys. The Boys and Girls Club Youth of the Year program recognizes teens who demonstrate outstanding leadership, service, academic excellence, and dedication to living a healthy lifestyle. In the regional, state, and national levels of the Youth of the Year program, students are evaluated on the quality of their application and essay submission, as well as an interview process. And Hazel is a recent graduate from Santiago High School, where she served as a leader in various organizations and school programs. And she was the president of Latinos United. I believe she was the secretary of Young Senators. She was, I believe, the president of the Keystone Boys and Girls Club. She's a member of the California Scholarship Federation, National Honor Society, and many more groups and organizations that she's been involved with. She's also served the community as an intern for the Coalition of Humane Immigrants' Rights and was recognized as a young congressional leader by the Office of Congressman Lou Correa. When asked about Hazel, Garden Grove Board of Education President Walter Munton said, "Hazel is truly inspiring and a bright star among the next generation of community leaders. She will surely go on to make an impactful difference by serving her community." Today, Hazel Coronado is studying political science at University of California, Berkeley, in hopes of pursuing a career as an immigration and constitutional lawyer so she can continue to serve her community. At this time, the mayor and city council would like to present Hazel with a certificate and a memento for being named the 2022 Orange County Boys and Girls Club Youth of the Year in recognition of her leadership, service, and academic excellence. Congratulations, Hazel. Very welcome.
Wow, that is so impressive.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Couple more. There you go.
Congratulations.
Hello. Okay. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you for congratulating me with this award. I was a part of the Boys and Girls Club for 11 years and counting, and I know that it is something that is very relevant in our community because of the impact that they have on our students, not only within GGUSD, but also community schools such as in Santa Ana, Anaheim, etc. And I know that this is an investment for all students within the club, but also outside of it. So I just wanted to thank you for all that you guys do within City Council and basically for investing your time within our community. So thank you very much.
All right, I'd like to go out of order for a brief moment because we have the honor of being accompanied here tonight by our Korean Consul General, Youngwon Kim. So I would like to pull forward item 4A from the consent calendar and make a motion to approve.
Second.
Call to vote.
Aye.
Oh,
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Okay.
probably did it, but you just didn't see it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Would you like to call forward?
Yeah. Consul General, will you please come forward?
You have a proclamation behind you.
What's that?
You
Oh,
have a
do I just go present? I thought maybe Maria was going to say.
Oh.
Thank you for being here.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Would others like to join for the photo? Yeah.
Yeah, please.
I don't think I could run that fast. Ready? 1, 2, thank you.
Thank you very much for 7 yes votes. And thank you for inviting me to this historic event in celebrating our Korean immigration to the United States. I'm personally honored to have the opportunity to observe the adoption of this proclamation. As you proclaimed, this year is really special for U.S.-Korea relationship. We Koreans and Korean Americans celebrate the 120th anniversary of the first immigration into the United States. The small Korean community of only 102 people has grown to 2.6 million. And 25% of them call Southern California their home. They came to Southern California, including Garden Grove, to find a better education opportunity and pursue business opportunity. And a vital place in that history is none other than Garden Grove, the center of the Orange County. When we started our journey into the United States, nobody knew anything about Korea. We didn't have a country and went through a great deal of difficulties and hardships. Yet we had the strength to overcome those difficulties with fortitude and the belief in the better future. Based on the confidence to overcome hardship, we enjoy what has been called Korean prime time, Korea culture's prime time, with the high popularity of Korean media. As the Bible said, our beginning seemed humble, so prosperous will our future be. This year, we also celebrate 70th anniversary of Korea-US alliance based on the Mutual Defense Treaty. I expect we together take another step toward deepening the relationship between our two countries. And I personally believe that the development of Korea-US relations is reinforced by all of you who attended here tonight. Your support Korea and the U.S. cooperation has been one of the most important elements for today's bilateral relations. Once again, on behalf of the Korean government, I express my gratitude to the city of Garden Grove for recognizing our Korean journey into the United States by passing this meaningful resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Consul General, for coming down to join us in person, and safe travels back up to Los Angeles. Thank you. Okay, we will, whoops. Yeah, we'll now move on to oral communications. My screen blipped for a minute there. No, I'm good. I'm good, yep. Okay, we'll move on to oral communications. We do have a number of cards where we limit speakers to 3 minutes, timed. And so I'll start by calling Patrick Bowie. Please come forward.
Let me read on the paper here. Good evening, Garden Grove City Council. My name is Patrick Bui. I am a current Garden Grove resident who lives in apartment in District 3. I'm speaking today because we need a smoke-free multi-unit policy to protect the life and health of everyone in Garden Grove. From 2010 to 20, my family and I live in our Adriatic apartment for 10 years. I have a 7-year-old son who has asthma, and my daughter and I severely allergic to smoking. On September 20, a couple moved into an apartment below us. This couple would vape and smoke throughout the day. The secondhand smoke was so bad, my family and I couldn't sleep because of the coughing. During this time, we were stuck at the home because of the lockdown from COVID. I contact our apartment manager and show her my children and my health record, how secondhand smoke would compromise our health. The manager dismissed our concern and said that there were nothing they can do, and also warned me not to bother the smoking tenant downstairs. My boys' asthma get worse, and I also developed asthma myself. Secondhand smoke disrupted my whole family schedule, causing a chronic lack of sleep. I fell asleep on the job since I had little or no sleep in 2 months. I was fired from my job and then lost our home for 10 years because of smoking. On November 16, 2020, I reached out to public health official. Please see attachment number 2. Maybe you have on hands. As well as the previous 6 city council member of Garden Grove City. Please see attachment number 3, by the way. The issue was dismissed. The community legal aid of SoCal helped me to write a letter to my apartment manager to request a reasonable accommodation to move to different unit away from our smoking neighbor. After sending that letter on December 16, 2020, the manager ignored my letter and decided to sign a lease of a vacant unit to a different tenant. I did everything right. I talked to my apartment manager and reached out to the OC Healthcare Agency and even the city council to ask for help. So I'm here again to ask for help and urge it's up you to pass a smoke-free policy for multi-unit housing in the city of Garden Grove that will protect the family like mine. We need a law to prevent all the families from being exposed to cancer-causing chemicals. Every family deserves a home where they can breathe a clean air.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Monique Jaime. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Close.
Oh, yes. Good evening, Garden Grove City Council members. My name is Monique Jaime. I am an apartment manager located in District 3. I'm here in support of a citywide smoke-free multi-unit housing policy. As an apartment manager, I have received multiple complaints from residents about unwanted secondhand smoke drifting into their unit through doors, walls, and windows. Most residents don't appreciate the strong odor. I feel like it was my responsibility to help my residents and protect their health. I advocated for a voluntary smoke-free policy at the complex. Unfortunately, the apartment owners chose not to implement the policy. Although the policy was not adopted, secondhand smoke still remains a health and safety issue that needs to be addressed, which is why I'm speaking here today in support of a city-wide smoke-free multi-unit housing policy. Secondhand smoking is an issue that affects me on a personal level as well. I grew up with a family of smokers. I thought it was normal, but my views have changed after I got married and had children. My husband smoked for many years, and was able to quit smoking successfully for 10 years. However, in the past year, he relapsed. The nicotine found in tobacco products is very addictive and a very addictive substance that is difficult to stop. As a wife, my biggest concern is that smoking will cause my husband to get lung cancer. As a mother, I'm afraid that secondhand smoke could affect my children's health. I'm also concerned that having an environment where smoke is permitted around children can send the wrong message and encourage children to smoke in the future. In August, I found out that there was a community movement toward smoke-free multi-unit housing. I told my husband about the news, and shortly after, he decided to take steps to quit smoking because he figured he might as well get a head start to quit if a policy could pass and he couldn't smoke in the apartments anymore. This made me realize how effective this policy could be as an incentive to help smokers who are on the fence to quit and finally make the jump. There was a time when you could smoke in a restaurant. Then we adopted policies for designated smoking areas. Now, I can't even think of a restaurant that would allow smoking inside anymore. I look back and ask, what were we even thinking by allowing smoking inside of a restaurant? I think that's how we will feel a few years from now about allowing smoking in apartments. I think implementing a citywide policy for smoke-free multi-unit housing is a natural next step to improve the health and safety of our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Chris Beard. The real Chris Beard.
Well, good evening and Happy New Year to everybody. Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. I'm Chris Beard, a longtime Garden Grove resident and former colleague of most of you. And it's great to see all your smiling faces. Are they smiling, Kim? I again want to, as I did at the last meeting, I want to congratulate the new members appointed to the council, and I say welcome aboard, and I wish you all the best in your public service. So as we start the new year, I know all you have plans and full agendas to make our great city a better place to work, live, visit, and play, and do business. So I come before you tonight in the hopes that you might consider adding an initiative this year, and that is an ordinance to enhance and protect the public health of those citizens living in existing or future multiple units within Garden Grove. At the last council meeting, I mentioned that I am a reformed smoker, former smoker. So I know about smoking cessation and secondhand smoking. And on a personal note, my mother died at 69 from cancer directly related to smoking cigarettes. So a few months back, I met up with an old friend who works for a nonprofit organization that's working to reduce and prevent dangerous secondhand smoke from intruding into the lives of non-smokers, especially children. Through his research and that of his staff, I've become better educated and on what's happening and what's succeeding in bringing down the number of smokers in Orange County and throughout the state. Most importantly, I learned that ordinances that prohibit smoking in multi-units, be they apartments, condos, or townhouses, is on the rise. It is a growing movement in local jurisdictions, cities, and counties to do so. I think it comes down to the reality that shared walls, shared floors, ceilings won't stop secondhand smoke from drifting into your neighbor's unit, and open windows and vents only offer an easy passageway to unprotected non-smokers. So I believe the question for some becomes, is smoking a personal freedom? Research all you want on court cases and you'll find that using tobacco is a personal choice, not a constitutional right. Let me repeat, there is no constitutional right or privilege to smoke. In fact, it can be well argued that local governments have the responsibility to regulate and enforce consequences of personal choices that may or do infringe upon the equal rights of non-smokers. So with this tide of rising government action to take, there's a rising tide to take action in this matter. I think Proposition 31 got 2/3 of the votes, which is a clear message that people want to keep kids away from being addicted or exposed to nicotine. So let me finish up by saying this year begins, we ask that you meet individually with me and other citizens, organizations, and associations, and nonprofits to look into ways to educate yourselves on this issue. I'd like to thank Councilman O'Neill for recently meeting with us, and we appreciate his feedback and his perspective on the matter. So down the road, I believe the entire council can work towards workable measures to protect the health and hundreds, perhaps thousands of Garden Grove's residents. I leave you with this. Just as Garden Grove has made its water clean and drinkable for all citizens, we should do the same thing and do our utmost to make the air fresh and breathable for them too. So thank you for your time. I look forward to meeting with all of you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Nicholas Dibbs.
Happy New Year, everyone. I'm here as in the past, I've mentioned the importance of protecting our children. As a teacher, when I first became a teacher, we didn't have cell phones. I hate to date myself, but now the digital world has created problems. AB 2273, which I have mentioned before, First Lady Newsom says, as a parent, I am terrified of the effects technology addiction and saturation are having on our children and their mental health. While social media and the internet are integral to the way we as a global community connect and communicate, our children still deserve real safeguards like AB 2273 to protect their well-being as they grow and develop, to ensure that tech companies are held accountable for the online spaces they design and the way those spaces affect California's children. AB 2273 just took effect this month, and I need to remind you, if you have forgotten, that we had a 5th grader commit suicide who was attending Hazard Elementary School in the Garden Grove Unified School District before the pandemic. And then we had a couple of 7th graders try to commit suicide, and the connection was that they were being bullied on Instagram and that the social media was part of this suicide stuff. So this is important, but the problem is, and I'm going to ask that you put this on the agenda for the next council meeting, and that is, what are we going to do about it? So we have a problem in that, and it isn't just the children, the police officers and the veterans, they need help. The police chief of Laguna Beach just today in the Orange County Register is quoted as saying, Police Chief Jeff Calvert, and there is now Canine Cooper, a 1-year-old Labrador Retriever who is on hand to support mental health for both sworn and non-sworn employees. It's important that Hoag Hospital has a program that can help our city. We need more green space. We need, if you go to savethekids.org, you can check that out. There's $4.7 billion in the kitty regarding AB 2273. I think our city could use some of those funds. What we need is, I'm not an expert, I don't pretend to be an expert, I'm just sounding the call that we need to have a digital, a wellness, youth and mental health wellness committee. And this would be in line with the October 26, 1971 ordinance number 1238 that was passed by the council and the mayor at the time for a youth commission. What I'm saying is, we need to pull together the experts, advisors, and so on, and go across the silos, the school board, the school district, the city, the county, and create a youth wellness thing. So can you please put that on the agenda for the next meeting, to have a youth wellness committee? And because our current committees or our current commissions don't cover this.
Thank you.
Thank you. So
Maureen Blackman.
please put it on the agenda for the next meeting. Thank you.
Good evening, Maureen Blackman. Good evening and Happy New Year to Mayor Jones, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, and staff. This sounds really sad, but it's really good to see all you guys. I should find a life at some point in time. The City of Garden Grove has been gracious enough to allow the Garden Grove Neighborhood Association to partner up with the City and Public Works and Republic Services to put on a meeting we call Organics Recycling 2.0. The city held the first presentation in November I attended and I thought it was very well done. There's more to it than just tossing your chicken bones in the brown can. The meeting explained the who, the what, the where, and the whys of the program. And the GG&A thought that another meeting or two would be a great opportunity to get the information out to the residents and give them the opportunity for the coveted kitchen pail. So here's your chance. Thursday, January the 12th from 6 till 7:30 at Eastgate Park, which is at 12003 St. Mark Street in West Garden Grove. You know that if you drive Chapman, it dead ends right into the Community Church of West Garden Grove, and Pastor Eric Williams was kind enough to allow us to use his space where his congregation meets. The seating is limited and we're getting a great response, so please RSVP to maureen.ggna@gmail, which is maureen.ggna@gmail.com, to ensure that we have enough seats, because seating is limited, and sufficient pails, coffee, and cookies. Thank you again to the City of Garden Grove Public Works and Republic Services for partnering with us to bring the information to the residents.
Mm-hmm.
I want to always go. Thanks, Tara. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Rosie.
I didn't know their last name. That's for running their names. Peter and Rose.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Peter Marconi. I've been living in Garden Grove for over 30 years. And I'm here tonight to address to the City Council a little problem that we have by where we live. I live 13281 Palm, which is Harbor and Garden Grove Boulevard, close to the area there by the hospital. And the issue with us is that we have a empty spot and a bridge that goes across the 22 freeway. And we have a lot of people right there right now that is becoming a very issue for our children's, and I don't have a little children anymore right now, but a lot of the people that live close to us though. So they were cleaned up once before, and now they're back. And I know this is a battle for every one of us, but it'd be nice if we can continue to move these people out of the way, so that way at least before something else happened to one of the children going across the bridge to the school. And also there's an empty lot that these people have camped out. They camping right there right now. They even put a net going across there so you don't see, to have a little more privacy. So, you know, I'm here to address this issue and to see what we can do about it for every one of us in the neighborhood. And, you know, maybe the police can come around, and I don't know what can we do or what we got to do. I know some of the stuff over here is through Caltrans, but maybe we can at least address some of these issues with them or something like that. We have been calling them, but, you know, how you guys know, it's not responding that quickly. So that's all I want to say, and thank you for you guys' time, and I appreciate it. Good night, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. There's nothing on it. Miriam or Mary Amarita? Mary Amarita? Or is that the... Oh.
Okay. Hello and good evening. My name is Miriam. I'm 14 years old and in 9th grade. I have lived in Garden Grove 2nd District my entire life. I'm here today as a representative of the Sunrise Movement's Orange County Hub. The Sunrise Movement is a national environmental organization that is run by youth who are under the age of 35 like myself. I'm sorry that I haven't been to in-person city council meetings, but that's only because I'm too young to drive, and so I depend on one of my parents bringing me here. And last semester, I had soccer Tuesday nights, so it was hard for me to come. I did watch all the recordings, though. I'm here today to ask the City Council to prioritize climate action in the city. The climate crisis is urgent, and we need to start acting upon it with bold legislation, and we need it now. This could be in the form of a climate action plan. Several cities in Orange County have already introduced these, such as the city of Irvine, which is actually voting on an electrification ordinance tonight at their City Council meeting. A climate action plan would create a pathway for the city to become zero carbon by a certain year, preferably before 2030. It would include a mobility plan to get a certain percentage of people out of their personal cars and onto green public transportation, bikes, or just by walking places. It would include something for building electrification, so buildings that are dependent on fossil fuels, such as my very own home, would be able to switch over to electric appliances. It could also include something that would update the city's infrastructure to make Garden Grove a more sustainable, safe, and beautiful city to live in. Having a climate action plan won't only improve Garden Grove and make it an amazing place to be, but it will also improve the quality of life and create so many good green jobs. According to a report from the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, cities are responsible for 2/3 of pollution, so it is essential our city does its part. Due to climate inaction, the effects of the climate crisis have only worsened, causing it to become the greatest threat to humanity, specifically against marginalized communities. A 2019 report from the Pentagon said climate change was a national security issue. I'm literally watching my future burn before my eyes. So many members of my family who live in Orange County have been evacuated due to the raging fires we've been having due to the climate crisis. About 4,600 fires scorched just California alone from January 1st to July 4th in 2021, covering 74 acres of land, and that wasn't even during fire season. Thousands of people in Europe died recently because of even more fires and heat. I would like for you to think about what you did when you were in 9th grade. Was this normal? Was it normal for hurricanes and tropical storms to happen so frequently? For summers to be so hot? For oceans to rise at such a fast rate? I would like for you to think about what you were doing during your 9th grade winter break. Maybe thinking about your friends, your school, your vacation, books, movies, music. Well, I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about how I can fight for a basic human right, the right to live on a living planet. I can't vote, I can't work, I can't even get a permit and drive a car. But I, your constituent, am asking you to take action on the climate crisis. Think of your kids' future, your nieces, nephews, the future generations of this country, and especially this city. This might be the hottest summer of your lives, but it'll only be the coldest for ours. Thank you for listening, and please take climate action immediately.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ali Sheikh.
I'm glad finally got a chance to see you guys, especially John O'Neill. It's very hard for me to get in touch to the city. Actually, me, my fiance, and my uncle, we are the residents of 8842 Acacia, which is Acacia Avenue between Magnolia to Josephine. It's a 1,400 feet long street. This side of the street have a street lights, that one have a light. The lot of activities been taking place, because if you look like, it doesn't look like we are living in Garden Grove. We look like we are in Tijuana somewhere in the country, really. Well, it's a dark. If you senior is here, if you can get a report or a picture from it, it's dark. We try to put people living over there for 22 year, 25 year. Then we sign the petition. They say city got to get the money, but nothing you hear. Well, then I try to call the city. They say we have to pay $5,000 per light by the Edison, which look like a ridiculous. 1,400 feet. If you guys drive over there, it looks dark. And casualty, it's hit by a run. My fiance been throwing the cats, dogs hit by car. She take the cats and pay the $600 to bury it. But she's running even out of the money every week. I didn't bring the pictures. Hit and run. Darkness, people walk, you cannot see. Even 10 feet away, you cannot see it. So I have a petition here. I definitely will accept that city will take their place. the tax money or however Cal State pays it. It's between Josephine and Magnolia, 1,400 feet. All the residents' name, addresses are here. If any doubt, and please kindly, the city will chance the hit and run, over speeding people. You cannot see nothing. It's so extremely dangerous. And even street is broke. I don't know. I'm not putting too much pressure. The city have to make everything in same time, but at least few poles of light. So, I mean, and plus we had tried to buy the property over there with my fiance, which is $900,000 place. Well, obviously, we're not going to bring the $1 million to the city to, like that if city is not active on the city. If like in others, so please, I want John O'Neill and kindly the mayor will consider that if I can pass the petition. And pleasure is all mine. I definitely will look forward to come to the next meeting, see the progress. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Rabia? Rabia?
Just introduce yourself. She is with the residents.
Do you wish to speak also, or no?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Saeed?
Yes.
Same. Would you like to come up and speak, or just being us? Okay. Okay.
All the residents on the location. Between Acacia and Josephine. Between Magnolia.
What is your address? We'll get with him now.
I think he said 8842 Acacia. It was. Yeah. Okay.
No, I know. Well, no, I go to Magnolia. I'm up to Lampstock.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, sir. Pleasure.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak that did not submit a pink oral communications card? Okay. Seeing none, we thank you all for coming forward. That will conclude oral communications. Next up is written communications. Are we okay to keep plowing through, or anybody want to break? Okay. Written communications, item 3A.
Item
Yes, I have it.
Item 3A is consideration of a written request from West Garden Grove Youth Baseball for co-sponsorship of the 2023 Opening Day Parade. And Ms. Belayo is here to give the report.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. The West Garden Grove Youth Baseball Organization is requesting co-sponsorship of the Opening Day Parade that is scheduled to take place on Saturday, February 25th. The group is a nonprofit organization, 501c3, that is in good standing with the Secretary of State Office and the IRS. The Opening Day Parade includes baseball players and softball players in Garden Grove, the Garden Grove Unified School District Board, school officials, the Orange County Fire Authority, and the City Council. Co-sponsorship for this event will have an impact on the city's general fund, the cost to provide police staff required to close city streets, the rental and setup of the showmobile stage are an approximate cost of $5,400. These expenses will be absorbed within this current police and community services department budgets. It is recommended that the City Council consider this co-sponsorship request. That concludes my report, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Janet. Go ahead.
I just had a quick question. Obviously, this thing's been going on for over 60 years. It's a legacy event, and I recall this. It was included as a legacy event about 5 years back. As a legacy event, they still have to come up every year to the council.
I believe this question was asked last year as well. That was a decision that the council, at the time when we talked about legacy events some years back, decided that these requests should still be annually brought forward and allow the current city council to make decisions on whether or not to continue co-sponsorship. However, if we're directed differently, we will do so.
And if there's any other questions, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Motion a second. Call to vote, please.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Thank you. Item 3B.
Item 3B is a consideration of a written request from the City of Westminster for the use of the Showmobile for the upcoming TEP Parade to be held in Westminster on January 22nd, 2023. And Mr. Montanchez is here to give the report.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Tonight I bring forward a written request from the City of Westminster for the City Council to consider waiving the fees for the use of the city's mobile stage, the Showmobile, for the upcoming TEP Parade on January 22nd, 2023, held in the City of Westminster. The parade route will be along Bolsa Avenue, starting at Magnolia Street, going eastbound to Bouchard Street. The TEP Parade represents an important cultural event marking the Lunar New Year with people from many communities in celebration. The Showmobile would mark the beginning of the parade route and opening remarks. The City of Westminster is asking that the rental fee be waived. All other fees associated with the setup, cleanup, and towing of the Showmobile will be charged at cost. The financial impact for waiving the fees is in the amount of $250. It is recommended that the City Council consider the written request from the City of Westminster to waive the rental fee for the Showmobile for the upcoming TEP Parade on January 22nd, 2023. This concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Go ahead, George.
Just a clarification. So in the item before, with the opening day parade, the estimated cost for the day use of the Showmobile is $400. But then in this request, the next one down, a one-day use of the Showmobile is $250. Is there a reason for the discrepancy? Why it's more for one group and less for another group?
Yeah. Go ahead. Well, let me just really quick. So the rental fee is $250 for the Showmobile, but that might be including the actual towing and staffing.
Setup and that kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So Westminster's going to tow it themselves. We're not towing it for
So
them.
they contract out with the towing company that we contract out with to get it towed out there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That clears it up.
Yeah, and then that also includes staffing fees for them as well, for the parade, for the baseball parade that is being waived. In this case, staffing fees are not being waived for the actual TEP Parade.
Thank you.
I'll move the item.
I have a question. How much does it cost us to participate in the TEP Parade? I was just going to say, do we get a discount of $250? Because that would be nice.
Yeah.
But seeing that no one knows the answer to that question, that's fine. If you move it, I'll second it.
Okay, we'll take that as a second, I think.
We have a motion and a second. Call the vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All right. We will now recess to successor agency. We'll call successor agency to order. Madam Clerk, would you like to call roll?
Member Brightigam?
Here.
Member O'Neill?
Here.
Member Tran?
Yeah.
Member Dovin?
Present.
Member Klopfenstein?
Here.
Member Nguyen? And Chair Jones.
Here. We already did oral communication simultaneously with City Council. Consent items, just receive and follow the minutes. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Call the vote.
Good. You're on it. I like it.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Any matters from successor agency members? Okay, seeing none, we will adjourn and reconvene City Council. Takes us on to consent calendar. We already did 4A, so it's recommended that 4B through 4G be acted on simultaneously unless anyone would like to pull any items.
I don't need to pull, but I do need to just make mention that I won't be participating in item 4E. For full disclosure, my husband works for SoCalGas.
I'll move the balance.
I'll second.
Okay. Call to vote, yeah. So this is just for the balance, yeah.
Motion received, 7 yes votes, and let the record show that that Councilmember Klopfenstein is abstaining from 4E? Or
Not
absent?
participating.
Not participating in item 4E.
Okay. So we're all done with consent? Okay. Great, and that is that. That takes us on to commission committee matters. We do have a list of the kind of regional appointments that council participates on. There's 9 different items per recommendation from the city clerk. We should go through these one by one. I tend to think most of them, those serving, as I've kind of made the rounds, are deep into some of the things they're serving on, but there are some opportunities. I'm hoping that the new folks might jump in on at least as alternates to get involved. So I'll start with the Internal Audit Committee. I currently serve together with Councilmember Kim Nguyen and Councilmember O'Neill. I would recommend we just keep that one the same, if I can make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, call the vote.
Councilmember Brigham?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Tran? Councilmember Dovin?
Yes.
Councilmember Klopfenstein?
Yes.
And Councilmember Kim Nguyen?
Yes.
And Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Do we
Motion
have to
received.
take them one by one?
Yeah.
Motion
I
received,
axed.
7 yes votes.
Okay. Next is League of California Cities. I know Councilmember Kim Nguyen is very actively involved with that group. So I'd like to propose keeping her as the primary representative. There is an opportunity for an alternate for League of California Cities, which was previously held by Tuha. So is there anyone who would like to serve as an alternate for League of California Cities?
I'll make a nomination. Councilmember Dovin would probably.
Yeah, I will accept and also second my own nomination.
Okay, great. Can I move those two together?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So Councilmember Kim Nguyen and Joe Dovin. Okay, call to vote?
Okay. Councilmember Kim Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilmember Klopfenstein?
Yes.
Councilmember Dovin?
Yes.
Councilmember Tran?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Brigham?
Yes.
And Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Okay, Orange County Fire Authority. Since we made the transition to OCFA, Councilmember John O'Neill has been serving as our representative on the board. I believe he's coming up on being the next president, in fact, of the board.
I'll most likely be the chair of the Budget and Finance, and I may have an opportunity at the next meeting to be vice chair, chair of the complete board. So Garden Grove is well represented there.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate all your diligence in that complicated board, so I would recommend that we keep that one the same, if I could make that motion.
I'd motion, or yeah, I'll second then.
Call to vote?
Councilmember Brigham?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Tran?
Yes.
Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember Dovin?
Yes.
Councilmember Klopfenstein?
Yes.
And Council.
I went ahead, sorry.
Councilmember Kim Nguyen?
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
Orange County Public Library Advisory Board. Councilmember Klopfenstein has been serving on this in the past, and I think Tuha served, and Councilmember Klopfenstein was the alternate. Talking to Stephanie, she's open to continue serving or to hand it over if some of the new folks would like to get involved. We do have an actual main branch public library here and 2 other libraries in town. So it is good to have a seat at that table. Are either of you interested in?
Are you interested?
I don't think they meet that often. Maybe you could tell us how often they meet or what.
Yeah, I was in all, it's a good board to get your feet wet on that. Early on, I was served as the alternate with you and I were on it. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I was on there.
Says it meets 4.
I didn't think it was monthly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just recommend that the council member who is serving has a library in their district.
I would love to, yeah.
So is this for the representative or for the alternate?
That would be for the representative. There is also an alternate.
Stephanie Klopfenstein, you're going to continue on that. Okay.
So I think
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay. So
Who first did it?
Who first did it?
I think him and I were voting, so I'll motion it, and
Okay.
George will second it.
Okay.
All right, call the vote.
All right. Councilmember Kim Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilmember Klopfenstein?
Yes.
Councilmember Dovin?
Yes.
Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember Tran?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
And Councilmember Brigham.
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Okay, Orange County Sanitation District Board, I've been serving on it, and Councilmember O'Neill has been the alternate, and we've both sort of traded off and done some of that in that regard. I'd propose we keep that one the same, if I could move that.
You don't need to take action on this?
Don't need to?
Mm-mm.
It's highlighted.
The Orange County Transportation Authority?
Sanitary.
Orange County
Oh,
Sanitation
I'm
District
sorry.
Board.
I'm-
Yeah.
I'm way behind you.
Yeah, I skipped
Sorry.
over.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that.
I'll move it to stay the same. I think you moved it, or I'll second it.
I'll second it then.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, call the vote.
Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember Dovin?
Yes.
Councilmember Klopfenstein?
Yes.
Councilmember Kimwin?
Yes.
Councilmember Tran?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Brigham. Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Okay, Sanitary District Liaison Committee. Currently, Councilmember Brigham is our representative. I believe it's most pertinent to kind of the west side of town.
Yeah, well, oh, no, that's the other one, but.
That's not that one?
Yeah,
Oh, right,
but-
this is
But
the
with
one-
this one,
okay.
it rarely meets occasionally, but I wouldn't mind staying involved in that.
Yeah.
And, but Councilman Bowie was our alternate representative, and we would need one to step up for that.
Yeah. Is someone willing to be the alternate on that one? I think they only meet once a
Like,
year.
I'll
Once a
nom-
year,
I'll
so,
nom-
yes.
I'll nominate Joe.
I think Joe or Cindy, one of you guys want
I'll
to?
nominate Joe.
I'm okay with it if Cindy wants
Whatever
it.
you guys want to do.
It's up to you.
Get involved in the garbage? Well, then
dirty
we'll nominate
business.
Cindy. It looks like she's looking like she would.
I'm happy to be
All right.
on it.
Cindy?
Okay.
Okay, then I'll second that.
Okay, who
All
was the
right.
first?
So it'd be a motion and a
George?
second for George, the primary, and Councilwoman Tran for the
Okay.
alternate for sanitary.
And then
district.
I
Who
think
was-
we're just both representatives on that one, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Who was the second?
Councilman Tran. Councilwoman Tran, I'm sorry.
Okay. No, I mean, who?
No, I think
Who seconded the motion?
Seconded the motion?
George and then John.
it was George.
George and
yeah.
John. Okay, perfect. Okay, Councilmember Brigham.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilmember Tran.
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Councilmember Dovin.
Yes.
Councilmember Klopfenstein.
Yes.
Councilmember Kimwin.
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All right, Santa Ana River Flood Protection Agency. This one is most pertinent to D6 and your adjacency, and you're currently serving, and
Correct, but I would like to forfeit it to someone who would be willing to go and then just let me know if there's anything I need to be worried about, only because I've been assigned a lot more responsibilities with SCAG and the league, and so I'm at capacity with boards and committees at this point. They meet very rarely.
it meets annually.
You don't,
No.
it gets confusing because there's an executive committee,
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm
but
reading the wrong one.
yeah, no, they meet.
It's every
Yeah.
it's every 2 months.
It's every 2 months, but you don't have to attend the executive committee, so just make sure that you don't get that on your calendar. It's just the regular one, and they're usually pretty short. The issue is just that they're at 4 p.m. via Zoom, and it's just a conflict with some of my other meetings. But if no one is interested, I will figure it out.
It mostly just affects, I was on it for 2 years, and it mostly just affects the 6th district. So I'd recommend maybe 5th or 4th, step up on that one, because it's closer to their districts, but.
any chance of like an alternate situation for that, where you could have two people serve as a chair and a, or not chair,
Alternate
just an
to
alternate or
rotate?
something, so that-
Ask
because
the-
I think we're all
It's via Zoom.
Up against that. If it's at the same time as I have
Yeah.
another.
And I have fire authority that day on the fourth Thursdays. Yeah.
I can take it as an alternate if you want, or primary, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
either way.
there's only a primary.
I would,
there's no-
I would appreciate it.
I'll nominate Joe Devin.
I'll second it.
Okay.
I'll
the
touch
vote.
base with you from time to time, Joe.
Councilmember Klopfenstein.
Yes.
Councilmember Kimwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Dovin.
Yes.
Councilmember Tran.
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Councilmember Brigham.
Yes.
And Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All right, Southern California Association of Governments, SCAG, is being diligently represented by Kim Wynn. I would recommend we keep that one the same.
I'll nominate Kim.
I'll second.
I would just ask if we could get an alternate. Full disclosure, SCAG has an annual conference. This is very similar to the league, where you can have an alternate. So I currently serve as a District 18 representative, but there's also the General Assembly, so there's flexibility with having an alternate there to vote for General Assembly. I sit on the council, which is separate from it's part of General Assembly. You'll understand if you volunteer to be an alternate, but I would highly recommend it. I'm the only one that ever goes. I'm always by myself, and other council members usually come in bulk and with their city managers. And so if someone wants to join
And
me,
SCAG is a cool one, and there's
it's really
grant money
cool.
there, and
They
they
meet
do cool
annually,
stuff
or-
and whatever. so.
for this specific role, it's annual. I'm elected to the OCOG board, so I serve as a SCAG council board member, which is separate from this request.
I'll nominate Councilwoman Tran.
I'll second it.
To be clear, Terry, that's my alternate.
Yeah, okay, so Kim and then Cindy. Okay.
I made the
George, John, motion
Tag
and
team,
second.
like-
Tag team package.
We're powering through this, that's all.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll do that one, just one vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Councilmember Brigham?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Councilmember Tran?
Yes.
Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember Dovin?
Yes.
Councilmember Klopfenstein?
Yes.
And Councilmember Kim Nguyen?
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All right, last but not least, West Orange County Water Board. I know George has been serving, and I believe you are, or you might be becoming.
No, I am the chairman.
You're
for
the current chair,
I am
yes,
the
you are
current
the chair,
chairman. This water board only affects First District. It's the water that comes up from Huntington, Fountain Valley, Cypress, I think gets a little bit of it, and West Garden Grove. So it's limited. It only really affects our district, so.
Okay, so you're the primary rep and should stay on as that. John, you're the alternate and sort of said you could take it or leave it, I think, if.
Either way. I'd like to stay as the alternate, but
You would? Okay.
George is always there, so.
Okay.
I'll come visit.
Unless there's any objection, I would just move that we keep it the same then.
Okay. Councilmember Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilmember Dovin?
Yes.
Councilmember Klopfenstein?
Yes.
Councilmember Tran?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Yes.
Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember Brigham?
Yes.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All righty. Thank you all. We burned through that about as efficiently as we could.
Good job.
That concludes commission committee matters. We'll go to matters from council. There's none listed, so I'll go around the horn. Councilmember Kim Nguyen.
Just a couple remarks. First, I'd like to acknowledge one of our speakers earlier that was talking about the issue off of Palm Street behind with the empty lot, and it's an ongoing issue with Caltrans and the City of Garden Grove. We have had Garden Grove Police Department actively investing a lot of time in that area. It's both the freeway exits and entrances on Trascan Harbor and that leading all the way through Palm Street. But there's also issues with the area across the street from that, over by where the old Loves used to be. It's an empty lot. So we have a lot of issues just centered in that specific area that they're working on. So I just want to assure the residents that this is a conversation I have almost every day with GGPD, and I know the mayor has gone out with me to some of the areas on Trascan Harbor. So we are diligently working with all of our resources to try and get the situation under control. I anticipate the sooner and faster we get through getting a navigation center set up and expanding our homelessness services, mental health services, that we will see some alleviation in that area. The other thing I wanted to comment on was I know that there's some new legislation pertaining to campaign finances coming up that are going to affect us. They're a lot more stringent. We've got a report from our league board representative and their city manager, and so city attorney, I mean. And so I was wondering if at some point we'd like to contemplate having an additional staffing resource for council members, whether that be part-time, to kind of help us navigate that, but also just navigate a lot of the activities we have going on. Many of us serve on additional boards, additional committees. I know Councilmember Klopfenstein will be president, chair of ACCOC, president. I can't remember what title they use, president. I now serve on probably 15 different committees. I got recently elected as a state board representative to the league. The SCAG just asked me to be part of their General Assembly sponsorship committee. So it's ongoing and it's a lot. And I know that it's between 7 of us, including the mayor, who has even 10 times more meetings and committees and boards. Could be a lot for one person to handle. So I would really like for us to look into getting additional staffing. I know other cities have 3 council liaisons that they divide up. I know that some of them have individual staffing. I'm not requesting that. I know that that would be really expensive, but if we could have additional support staff, I would really like to have a look at that. And that's all my comments. Thank you.
Councilmember Kloffenstein.
Thank you. Well, one of the boards that wasn't mentioned tonight, because it didn't have to be, is Vector Control. I've been on Vector since day one of being a councilwoman. I've really enjoyed my time on that board, and if there's one thing, I feel like I'm kind of a scientist now amongst myself, just from the very, very aggressive reporting and just everything that's done at those board meetings. It's pretty intense and amazing what is going on with Vector Control. But one of the most simplest things is the outreach and education component. It's really the key part of what makes Vector, I think, work and keeps us from having to use spraying as an objective to get rid of mosquitoes. And so when we have these big rainstorms like we had today, it's just a reminder to the community it's just as simple as dumping and draining your standing water, looking in your backyard for areas of water that can pool. That can be a tarp, that can be a children's toy, it can be a potted plant. Just that simple act, and making sure you're also telling your neighbors, residents, friends, and family to do the same. It really does prevent West Nile virus, and it prevents mosquito breeding. It's just that simple. So just a reminder to the community to please think about that and do that, especially after we had these heavy rains like we did today. And then one other thing, after the new year, I noticed that my inbox was very full with residents wanting to talk about different concerns they're seeing or issues around their neighborhood, specifically District 5. And one of those most recently has been graffiti. And I know that's something that affects every district and all of our city and many other cities as well. And so just for me, I wanted the residents to know that I'm on it. I see it too. And I just want to thank staff very much for obviously just automatically jumping on that, dedicated themselves to that. And I know it's being worked on in a timely manner, and hopefully we can get certain areas cleaned up. It's really strange how it just kind of comes in waves. And it seems like all of a sudden, certain areas, District 5 out by our harbor corridor, just got hit really hard. So I know it's being looked at and worked on, and I just want residents to know that I feel your frustrations, and I see it too, and we're working on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Dovin.
Yes, I have a few things, but I'll keep it brief. First, thank you, Councilwoman Nguyen, for the Trascan Harbor attention to that area, and I know the residents there, and they're very concerned. It's an ongoing issue, so hopefully our police can allocate some resources to kind of step it up with the policing the beat there. And we do have some help around the corner, and hopefully it will alleviate a lot of problems there. Secondly, I also appreciate Councilwoman Kloffenstein's attention to the graffiti issue. I've heard it in my own neighborhood in District 4, and I've heard it from my neighbors about us not getting out there fast enough and taking care of the graffitis that's popping up everywhere. But I don't know what else we can do other than to emphasize that that's an issue, an ongoing issue that we want to be able to allocate resources and not have to wait for the residents to call it in, but whatever we can identify on our own would be a proactive approach, and I encourage that. There's a couple of other issues I want to bring up. One is the recent apprehension of a suspect of a sexual assault that happened right here in our streets. And I want to commend the victim, who was very brave and assisted in identifying the suspect. And our police acted immediately within the same day. We got a text blast out from the city manager, which I appreciate. I appreciate all of his texts to alert to situations as they develop. And in this case, we have very good news. And I talked to Scott to maybe reach out to the victim and recognize her bravery, either in private or in the public space. It depends on how we can do that. But I know we have the Chiefs coin every year, and we don't have to wait for that event. But if we want to give her recognition, I think it's duly deserved, because she probably stopped the suspect from perpetrating other crimes and saved a lot of victims. So I want to call out to the victim and anybody else who's been victimized to report and to help the city crack these cases so we have a safer city. And I feel more comfortable because I have young children and I have friends and neighbors who are very concerned about those issues. We have a lot of registered sex offenders in our neighborhoods, and we have to be aware of that. So thank you, Scott, for the text blast, and to give a accommodation to our police department, who've done a great job in this case. We're not going to forget that, and we're going to keep encouraging our police force to step it up when they have the evidence to pursue a crime in progress. So thank you for that. Lastly, I want to talk about the Flower Street event that's coming up. It's something that developed prior to me coming on council, so I don't know the full extent of how that event came to be approved, and we issued a permit to close the street. I'm not opposed to that at all. I fully support any event in the city that has a cultural and even an economic interest in contributing to our community. And I know I showed up, and Manager Scott showed up, and I also speak on behalf of myself and our city's interest to promote such events. However, it came to light that there may be more ominous things that are happening behind the scenes that we don't know, and at this point it's just allegations, which I asked our manager to investigate. And what are we investigating? We're investigating who is behind it, the true sponsors, who's paying for the event, how they're going to file their taxes with the IRS and so on, because it is a 501c3 that is on the permit. So there are a lot of interest in the community as to who the true organizers are and who's funding it, and how the money is coming through, and is it part of a propaganda campaign, particularly from the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. This has raised a lot of red flags with our community, particularly the Vietnamese American, and they have asked me to ask the city to investigate a few things that may be of relevant, and it may help clear up any misunderstanding. One of it is the fruit and the flowers that's coming through, whether those are going to be screened for any insects or fruit flies or safety issues as far as FDA is concerned. Is it safe for consumption? Will they clear any permits related to the import of such flowers and fruit into our community? So that has to be cleared with some of the safety agencies. Two is, we want to understand the true mission and agenda of the Flower Street organizers. What is their agenda? What is their mission that they have in their application, so that the community is reassured that it's not for propaganda, it's not politicizing, it's not going to trigger protest because of certain symbolisms of the communist Vietnam, which will be objected by our community. And again, the city manager have asked staff, particularly in community services, to give him a full report, and I want to share that with you. I have emails to city manager, but I allow those information to be released at his discretion. It's not for me to blast it out to any other members, but I'm just on the dais mentioning it. And if there are others concerns, then people can raise it. I know Council Member Cindy Tran have heard some not so good talk about this event. And lastly, I want to make sure that the city doesn't end up footing a big bill for policing or otherwise, because we do have to close the street and we do have to maintain safety. And if there's any sort of protest or demonstration or even altercation, it will result in a cost to our city, which I am unwilling to foot that bill, to put it bluntly. So the event, we will provide whatever assistance that we have committed to, but not at the cost of the taxpayers. I'm not willing to foot that bill. And to preempt any possibility of it developing in such a manner, I think we should have a public hearing about it right here, And if other people want to show up, this is probably the only opportunity, being that if we're going to meet in 2 weeks' time, the event might have come to pass. So hear something, say something, and I'm in touch with the city manager, and he's been on top of it. And I'm not very, I told him to be alert, but don't be alarmed. And as things develop, we can communicate with each other so we can appropriately handle the situation if it gets out of control, and it can get out of control very quickly. That's it.
Councilmember Bredegum.
Yeah, thank you. I want to talk a little bit, or a little update. So about 4 months ago, I brought it up to the, brought it up many times before then, but I talk about our staff, and part of our job on the council is oversight and making sure that our community is being well served. And quite frankly, in my 4 years, in my first term, I've seen nothing but wonderful performance. Our police department, top notch. Our public works department, top notch. HR, administrative staff, pretty much everything in our city, just really, really beyond belief how well we do things. The fire authority, everything is just, these guys really go out and bust their tails and work hard for our communities, and that's what we like to see. But I brought forth about the problem with our building inspections. And at the time, to put it in perspective, it had been at least 4 years that I'm aware of that I was on the council, and we brought it up from time to time, and nothing ever seemed to happen. And what I'm hearing secondhand is that it's probably been going on for 10 to 15 years, but I can't attest to that. I can only attest to the 4 years that I'm aware of. But it would take between 30 to 60 days to get a building inspection in the city of Garden Grove. Now, to put that in context, the worst city in the county besides Garden Grove takes 3 days. So 3 days is the worst, and we're at 60 days, or 30 to 60 days. So I shine a little light on it, and I'm proud. I'm really proud to report our city has improved dramatically. Currently, 9 days. Now, I know that still sounds bad because the worst is 30, but when you consider we were at 30 to 60 days and now we're at 9 days, so there's been a tremendous improvement. We're running about 100 to 110 inspections a day. So our guys are out there really working. They're doing their job. And you got to realize this is a staff of only 7.5 people. So you have one supervisor and 3 inspectors, and then there's 3.5, I guess, contracted inspectors. So, they're really hustling. The city's getting, and the challenge is to get this so we're running about the same as the rest of the cities in Orange County. So, we're not a disservice. But I just want to give kudos to staff. They pulled it together. They've focused on this, and they're really showing dramatic improvement at this point. So I look forward to hearing when we're at 2 or 3 days, but I'm really cautiously optimistic that this problem is actually being resolved finally. Secondly, it was spoke on earlier, there is going to be an organics recycling event hosted by the Garden Grove Neighborhood Association and Republic Services. It'll be at Eastgate Park, January 12th, that's 2 days from today, at 6 p.m. I get a lot of complaints from the elderly, a lot of the seniors in my district, because to go pick up the little organics bin that the Republic gives out, I guess you put in your kitchen to put your organics waste in, they have to drive all the way over to Blue Gum over there in Anaheim, which is like, it's probably a good drive, and a lot of these folks don't even have driver's licenses anymore and whatnot, so or even cars, some of them. So it's nice that this event is being done over here at Eastgate Park. So be there, get your bin. I want to thank Maureen Blackman and the Garden Grove Neighborhood Association for putting the event on, and Republic Services as well. Thursday, 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember O'Neill.
Thank you. Just a couple things. I'll try to make it quick. First of all, I wanted to comment on the gentleman that came about the street lights. So Garden Grove's been around, I think it'll be 67 years this year, 1956, right? So I'm old enough to know my brothers were playing in the front yard before I was born and watched them dig the hole to plant the place for the pole for the first time. So back then, the community had most of them took a choice. They could either have sidewalks or they could have street lights. That's why you see a lot of our neighborhoods that have one or the other, and they don't have both. Some have both. But the long story of it is, the short story of it is the community gets to decide, and it's going to go on your property tax regardless if it's a sidewalk or a street light. So you'd have to get 50, if you don't have street lights right now, you'd have to get 51% of your folks on the street to sign that they would allow that, and then the cost that the other constituents, other people in Garden Grove are already paying, they're paying it on their property tax every year since 1956. Or actually it was in the, I think it was the 60s when it happened in our neighborhood. But anyway, I did receive the gentleman's email. We did forward it to the city staff. The city staff responded to that gentleman and told them about the procedure. So 51% of the neighbors have to sign up for it, and then that would be an assessment on your property tax forever. For the initial cost and the upkeep of the streetlights. So people need to be aware of that because, you know, some people may not want the streetlights. I'm a big proponent of, you know, always security lighting and things at your own home to do that. So that could be a controversial issue, but there is a process, and they're going through the process right now, and they're getting educated on that. So that's what's going on there. And I did get to see, I'm old enough and lived in the city long enough to where the light pole that my brothers watched put in when they were little kids playing in the hole, I got to see that pole removed and a new pole put in a few years ago when we replaced every street light in Garden Grove, which I was happy to see. So I got video of it, and it was the crane lifting. It was pretty cool. Secondly, December 17th, we had the Brown Descents. I mentioned it at the council meeting before Christmas that the Brown Descents is a nonprofit. They're kind of like a lowrider group, but they give back to the community. They raise money for students, scholarships, even in high school and college students to go to college. They did a toy drive on December 17th. I was there. The mayor was there. Our U.S. Congressman Lou Correa was there. It was a great event. The mayor can contest there was tons of toys there. I think the kids that were there got to go through the line 2 or 3 times because that's how many toys they had. So it was a great event. Thanks, Mr. Mayor, for coming, and especially to Congressman Correa. It was great. I did meet with Waymakers OC. There's issues about smoke-free environments in multifamily units. I wanted to be educated on it, so I met with them this week. Very educational. There is other cities that are doing this. It's not to discriminate smokers, and obviously it can be a controversial issue about private property and things like that, but I think you could almost do both. You could have a multifamily situation where you have a smoke-free environment. It's just like the other speaker said about, can't believe you'd smoke at a restaurant. Well, I remember people smoking on airplanes, and most anybody nowadays would think that was crazy. But so it's not something to be scared about or go into your hole. It's something to talk about, look at policy. I'm going to study the policy in other cities that are doing it, and not to segregate, smokers. I have nothing, if someone that wants to smoke, they have a right to smoke in the area, in their private residence. But multifamily, it is an issue. My dad died of congestive heart failure from smoking. He was born in the 20s, and that's what most people did from the 30s all the way to, for 40 years, you smoke. And it shortens your life. So something to look at, but I'm not going to, if someone wants to smoke, I'm all, they're welcome to do that. I was a smoker, like Mr. Beard. I smoked when I was in my young teenage days. Luckily, when I met my wife, she got me to quit. So I didn't have to deal with that. Lastly, and I'll move on, is happy birthday to Council Member Dovin. I see here you're having a birthday, so happy birthday.
Is it actually today?
No, it's the 15th.
Okay.
And
thank you.
Yeah.
And I received a little bouquet of fruits, so thank you, Council.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you so much. Councilmember Tran.
Yes, I know it's kind of late, and I'm going to try to be quick. Couple things. So first, I just want to say thank to the staff. Just try to help me and Councilman Chodovin getting, to familiar and getting things ready. I would just feel so much love from everybody because everything was so smoothly. And Scott and Maria always there help and give us a little detail that we were not familiar with. So I really appreciate and I just feel so much love from that. So that's first. Second, you're talking about the smoker issue. I would love to tag along just so to learn more about it and see, what can we do just because, hearing from people with their health, sometimes it's controversy. We just have to learn and figure out how to, take it from here. Next one is about the flower issue. I did 2 different TV stations contact me and I got some other people call me related to that. I will pass information to our staff and then we'll take it from there. Next, I'm not sure when to bring this up, but I'm going to bring up anyway. While I was walking, people were talking about, how some of our houses that doesn't look nice and things like that. And how can we promote, the beauty in our city? And so I talked to the staff and I heard that Councilwoman Carpenson was talking about the Garden Grove gym, right? And talking about for the springtime, we would vote for the best house. And we just went to the Christmas time. In my block, we start to put the Christmas light, and now the next door doing that. And so when guests and the youth group came to my house, like, oh wow, look at your street. So I was thinking maybe we could tag along with your initiative with that. During springtime, we could have voting for the best house with all the flower and nice looking. But during Christmas time, we could, vote for the house that with the best decoration. That way, we will have more of that in our city. So that's what I want to bring up here. And if anyone else out there that have an idea how we could promote, a better neighborhood, feel free to contact any of us here. So last item relate to that about the community cleanup day, the free bulky item drop off. The first one just happened to be in my district at the Garden Grove Park on Saturday, February 11. So I just want to let the citizen know about it and feel free to come and drop off your bulky item. That's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager Scott Stiles, anything?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm losing my voice a little bit, so sorry. Just several very quick things. I'll run through them real quick. First of all, Councilman Brighting, thanks for your comments about the building inspection piece. We've been, Lisa Kim and her staff been working really hard on this. We've, contract staff, we're approving overtime. We're really trying to attack it, push hard. We have a new system going into place in the next week or so. That should help further. We're also reaching out to people who are want to cancel some of their inspections. That helps free up slots. So a big focus for us. We're really trying to stay focused on it. Want to mention just a couple quick comment on the Flower Street event. So that event is not, the city doesn't sponsor it. We're not co-sponsors. We're not contributing any money to it. The only thing the city's involved in it with is approving a street closure permit, like we do for a lot of different groups. And the organizers get the support of the businesses on Main Street and determine that they want to try this new event out. And so that's the extent of our involvement. We don't have anything more to do with it than that. But we'll certainly if there's any new information people have, but we've thought of it as, could be a nice family event on Main Street, and the businesses seem to like it. But if there's more information that anybody has, feel free to share that with our office. I have talked to police chief. The police chief, I can tell you, was very pleased with that sexual assault victim that came forward. He's going to be reaching out to her and presenting her, I think, with a coin of merit. If she wants to be more visible, we can do that, but that will be up to her. So very grateful to the chief for the follow-up on that. I did want to mention Lisa Kim and her staff. There's an encampment resolution funding program that we're going to be aggressively going after for some grant opportunities, potentially $2 to $3 million. If we get that, the idea is we would use that money to partner with police department, Caltrans, Public Works, Community and Economic Development, so it's not just cleaning up an area and then So it's funding an ongoing kind of effort to address areas, try to get people where they need to be into housing, that sort of thing. But we're staying after it over multiple times. So we'll keep council up to speed if we're successful with that grant. There's plenty of money out there with the state. We hope we're going to be successful. We're going to be going after that. Just two other quick things. One is for the residents. I know everybody's patience has been great. We're in the middle of a pretty sizable storm season right now. Sunday afternoon, I was on a statewide call conference call with agencies throughout the state of California. The real serious areas really seem to be up in Northern California, where there were a lot of concerns, particularly the Sierra Mountains, Sierra Nevada Mountains, the Central Coast, Sacramento area, some of the Central Valley, where there's real efforts going on to really coordinate services, work together, and address that. We've obviously had, our winter storm weather here. We got through today. All of our departments, particularly OCFA, our police department, Public Works, they're all working great together, kind of monitoring areas and trying to keep up with stuff. So we will continue that because we're expecting a couple more rain events later on this week. So, we're kind of in this cycle right now where we really have to stay focused. I wanted to let the council know the governor, I think, has declared a state of emergency, especially for the whole state. Orange County's a part of that, has been included in that. So our EOC manager, Linda Morin, is working with all of our departments. If there are some expenses we're incurring that are related to this, we want to, not that, we're in better shape than most places are, but we do have some expenses, and we'd like to recoup those if we potentially could. And then the last thing I want to mention, just to reemphasize Councilmember Tran's comments about the bulky pickup program. So we did that last year. It was wonderfully successful. All of our neighborhoods and all of our districts, we did one in each district, and they were all really successful. We learned a lot from that, and we're going to be doing the whole program again this year. There's one in each one of our districts. And although you can go to a different district if the timing is off, but you can go to the city's webpage, look under our news, and we're publicizing right now the time and dates for all the locations and when it's going to happen. And Councilmember Tran has the pleasure of having the first event right out of the gate in District 3. It's going to be on Saturday, February 11th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Garden Grove Park. And that's at 9301 Westminster Boulevard. We all have lots of stuff piled up everywhere, so it's a good opportunity for everybody to take advantage of that. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
John?
Thank you, City Manager and Mayor. If I may have just a couple of minutes to circle back. I don't want to keep this meeting much longer, but there are a couple things that the other council members raised that I want to chime in on. Number one is on the multi-unit smoking issue. I know the dangers. We all know the dangers of even secondhand smoke. It's very, very dangerous. So I would volunteer myself to be on board with you, as well as Councilwoman Cindy Tran, if you want to use us as a springboard or to come in along with you. We'd be happy to join you in that effort. And we have to come up with some creative solutions for our residents. And I think we might be on the cutting edge of a movement that's very important. And I also want to speak to Councilman Mayor Pro Tem Bridegam's point on building services. And then Lisa Kim's here. I've been to Planning Commission's meeting before where the CBO is present, and I would ask that we have the presence of our community director and or CBO in some cases. I have experienced myself the long delay, the long wait in inspection time, and nobody knows more than Director Kim that that's an issue in our city. But we also understand that it's due to understaffing, and that's because it's very hard to retain and to maintain the staffing at 7.5 or better, which is really what we need. We're understaffed. And I also know that we have had the departure of key inspectors. They found it more beneficial to work in other places, in other cities, or as subcontractors in other firms. So we need to provide better incentives. That's my thinking, is how to retain the best and keep them on our payroll. So if it's a matter of increasing the salary, maybe we should consider that. And I like what we're doing. I myself have received phone calls that say, are you going to go ahead with this inspection, or do you need to cancel? I think that works. That works for me because it's an affirmation that every single inspection counts. We're not going to waste it. And I know our inspectors are working really hard, our staff in building and the CBO, but I also know we have room for improvement. So I'm thinking from day one, how do we reform the ordinances that we have so that we improve court enforcement, so that people have a legalization process where they have a protocol or policy that they can understand. We can articulate it, they can understand, and it has to comply with the laws of the state of California on down to our city. So I want to ask for the CBO or the director to come up with the ordinances to reform. I have a list of ordinances to reform, but I'll be happy to work with you on how to work through those ordinances. And the staffing issue, I have some input that I'd like to the council to entertain on how to retain and the best. And the people, they're overworked. I see them in the field. I know they're overworked. We need to alleviate that and hire more people that we can retain. If it means budgeting more for it, so be it. Let's figure out what we need to budget for, and let's improve the service delivery, because I know a lot of residents are very frustrated, and it's an ongoing process, but I didn't want to miss this opportunity to chime in on that. Lastly, I want to thank Miriam, a 14-year-old who came in. She emailed and reached out to me and said she had this climate action policy or whatever, but it's because in response to what I said to Bill Murray in the first meeting as to encouraging green energy, and if we have to upgrade our facility to accommodate for EVs, then that's money well spent in my mind. And that's what triggered Miriam to come here tonight. She's not even old enough to put in an application. I didn't know how old she was. I said, put in an application to be on one of our commissions, maybe Park and Recreation. Well, she was here today, but I want to use this opportunity, because there's people watching, to put in for our commissions. I know we have an open application process. Contact our city's clerk. And I would like to see a lot of applications on our different commissions. I know you got to be 18-year-old, right? And be able to drive yourself. But anybody who's not barred from putting in for an application, please put in. And I want to recruit the best. That's how I came to be on the seat here, because I put in for the Planning Commission. And we're going to recruit the best people to serve our community and our city by that open application process. So anybody who's thinking about being on a commission, please put in an application. Thank you.
Thank you. General Counsel, do we have anything to report out or any need for closed session hereafter?
Yes, Mayor, we did have a closed session earlier this evening, and there is a reportable action. So the City Council unanimously approved commencement of receivership proceedings for property located at 12109 Stonegate Lane, and that is all we have to report today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Tonight's meeting will be adjourned in memory of Clyde Craycraft, a longtime Garden Grove resident who recently passed away unexpectedly on December 14th, 2022. Clyde was known by the community for his fabulous Christmas displays, and he was known by his family, friends, and neighbors as a man with a heart of gold, a smile of pure joy, and a kindness that extended to all he knew. Clyde's passing was unexpected, leaving the family heartbroken instead of enjoying the holidays season that Clyde loved so much. Clyde is survived by his beautiful wife of 62 years, Carol, and their 4 children, Debbie, Glenn, Jason, and Matthew. 6 grandchildren, Caitlin, Madison, Brandon, Allison, Kevin, and Chris, and their 4 great-grandchildren, Amelia, Elise, Willa, and Logan. A celebration of life will be held on January 17th at 10 a.m. at the Mid-Cities Baptist Church located at 14391 Newland Street in Westminster. Following the service at 2 p.m., please join the family at Clyde's final resting place at the El Toro Memorial Park. at 25751 Trabuco Road in Lake Forest. A GoFundMe account has been set up for Clyde's family and funeral expenses. And with that, everyone, we will stand adjourned. Please enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you again soon.
Good night.